welcome to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for June 27th. I'm Mike Ortiz.
And I'm the Chris Brown.
So what do you got?
I'm going to kick it off here with Superman Family Adventures number 2. I liked the first issue. Mm-hmm. It was fun. It's more Art and Franco. Friends of the show. Really love their stuff. There's a little Tiny Titans cameo in here.
Oh, wow.
Just fun. Because they got Supergirl. She was a part of it. So they got Supergirl. She's with the Titans. Oh, yeah, Titans. And then she springs into action. Really fun stuff. I like that, kind of a different take on things. We got Super Pets. We got Streaky the Super Cat. So it's kind of taking those Super Pets books that they were doing and doing some things. I like that it just feels like it's the expanded universe. It's just moved on from
Bizarro in here, and
me. I'm here to join family. Just good stuff. I really like that. Then we've got FF number 19. Admittedly, I'm behind on this one. I did get caught up on Fantastic Four. Before I was reading things, I'd read an Fantastic Four, then an FF, and kind of read them in order. And I had gotten about 4 issues behind, so I just sat down and read all the Fantastic Fours and loved it. This actually looks pretty good. This art looks great. We got Gabriel Hernandez Walta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really good stuff. There have been a couple of issues that I wasn't sold on, but I sort of like the approach here. Looks like good stuff. Hickman is sort of slowed down, just kind of telling some fun stories now. I'd already gone through his big, giant, sweeping epic. But it's still fun. It's still, at least Fantastic Four it's still been. So I'm sure this is going to be great. And like I said, that art looks pretty nice. Then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 11. This has been a good book. It's a different take on the Turtles. It kind of includes all of the mythos, sort of. They're now, cartoons are different than the old comics. The Archie comics were different. The Image comics were different. They've done all these various things. They're kind of mixing these things together. Although I guess they have ignored some of the Image stuff. Thank God, like having made Donatello a cyborg and Leonardo a bat. So, but other things are kind of mixing in and adding us some new stuff and some new characters, and it's been cool. I've been digging it. And basically all the backbone is still there. We had Shredder, I think it was in the previous issue. Then I've got Whispers number 3 by Josh Luna. This is published by Image. It's a good book. Sort of, we start out with our main character is not really, he doesn't seem like a good guy. A lot of his friends don't really like him. He's got some issues going on. Who doesn't? He's got some stuff going on. But he apparently, when he dreams, he can go off and, almost like a Carlos Castaneda sort of thing. He can split his dream self, send it out, and it can do some things, kind of whispering in people's ears, so to speak, and making some things happen. But it looks like it's going to take a sort of a horror turn here. So that'll be kind of bizarre. It looked like a guy. It looked like a bath salts moment. Somebody eating somebody's throat here with no pants on. So, I don't know what's going on there. Then Resident Alien number 2 by Dark Horse. I don't know if there was a previous story. I think there was maybe a Zero or something.
There was a Zero issue, which was a reprint of, I think it appeared in Dark Horse Presents originally.
Okay. Because I felt like I had sort of jumped in. I didn't feel like I was missing anything, but I did feel like I had jumped into something that had happened before me.
I know this started in Dark Horse Presents, or at least I'm pretty sure it did.
I liked it. It's kind of fun. It's sort of interesting that everyone has just sort of accepted that this guy's an alien. It's cool. He's just
alien in a lab coat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Can't beat that.
It's like everyone's just, okay, whatever. Doing his thing. So, kind of good. I like that book. I'm into the whole alien thing right now.
Yeah,
I'm reading more alien comics than I can shake a stick at. Then I've got Mind the Gap number 2. This was supposed to come in a couple of weeks ago and just didn't make it. Had some delays. First issue was really good and really weird and kind of more. I feel like I'm reading a lot of the similar themed stuff here. I don't know that I'm in a rut or I'm just enjoying some themes. Girl's in a coma. Some things are going on. She's sort of outside of herself. Some people are doing some things to her. Half my books this week.
So you're into aliens and psychic projection.
Yes. If there were aliens psychic projecting themselves, that'd be the book. Publishers, I'm talking to you. Get it
Add
done.
a monkey to that. You've got a sale.
An alien monkey who can psychically project himself, that's what we need to work on.
All right.
Get that done. Then, here, American Vampire, number 28. This is part 1 of the Blacklist. So I'm not sure. It looks like we're in the 50s here again. This book's been great. I love the way he tells his tale. I think Scott Snyder, as I've said before, Scott Snyder's doing some great stuff. He's really good with period pieces and mood, and and dark, creepy stories. Mm-hmm. So if you hadn't been reading American Vampire, you should go check out those trades and get on that. Then I'm looking at Fatale number 6 from Image. This has been, again, sort of a noirish thing set in a period. There's some kind of a Cthulhu monster. There's a woman who doesn't age, sort of our femme fatale. A writer who wrote a lost novel that got into some things. It's really a lot of strangeness, but I think that's where Ed Brubaker excels, is in this noirish period pieces. And yeah, I dig it. I've been enjoying that. And also this week, the Fatale trade paperback is out. It collects the first 5 issues, and that's $14.99. So if you wanted, you could pick up that first trade, pick up the 6th issue, and get all caught up.
So the first story arc is in that trade.
Yes, in
and
5
this
issues.
issue starts a new story arc.
Correct.
All right, that makes sense. Well, I'm going to start off with Superman number 10. This is by Dan Jurgens and Jesus Marino. Like I've said before, this book started off kind of shaky. I think it got a little better with this creative team, but they've already announced the new real creative team coming on with the 0 issue.
Who's that going to be?
Scott Lobdell and Kenneth Rocafort, who was doing Red Hood and the Outsiders.
Yeah.
So this is going to be filler for a couple of months. But, I like Dan Jurgen. It harkens back to the work that he was doing for a very long time throughout the 90s and 2000s. Jesus Marino is a great inker. So it's a good kind of old-fashioned...
art almost has a 90s feel to it, too.
So it's an old-fashioned Superman tale, which is odd since, this is supposed to be a
no underwear on the outside.
But I'm still giving it a shot. I like Superman. I like Jesus Marino a lot. And I will at least stick around till the new creative team and see what they have to offer. Next up is Justice League, Jeff Johns and Jim Lee with the backup feature featuring Shazam with art by Gary Frank. I'm not really sure what's going on in this book right now. I know we've jumped to the present.
I'm behind on
There's
it.
a new villain that is a threat to the Justice League that may tie into the Trinity War. They're just getting this started, so I really don't know a whole lot about this villain. But it's Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. That's pretty much all I need to know to pick the book up. Next up, Green Lantern New Guardians. This is the book that features the Rainbow Lanterns. And it looks like we've got a Blue Lantern versus a Blue Beetle. So you got a lot of blue.
Die, Blue Lantern, die.
The Blue Beetles are some other sort of alien armada. And it looks like they're taking on the Blue Lanterns. This has been a solid book. It looks like we've got a different artist on this one than we normally have. Tomas Giarello, but overall some solid stuff, and you get some. Really a lot of the Lantern books are sort of blending together in my mind because they're all kind of telling these stories of all the cores. The Red Lantern book has the Red Lanterns and the Star Sapphires. The Green Lantern book has the Green Lanterns and the Indigo Lanterns. So there's just a whole bunch of lanterns running around. Not really know what's going on in what book individually, but on the whole, it's still a nice sci-fi super cop rainbow-colored adventure. Next up, Batman Incorporated number 2, continuing the Grant Morrison series. We've got Batman and Robin with art by Chris Burnham. Great stuff by Chris Burnham. Going against Leviathan, who I'm not going to spoil who it is in case you did not read the Batman Incorporated Leviathan special. But it's someone from his past. This is great stuff. They've had to tweak a few things to get it into the new 52. Some things aren't quite fitting yet, but it's Grant Morrison, so I love it. Next up, we've got the Amazing Spider-Man, and because of the upcoming movie, he's fighting the Lizard. The Doc Ock stuff is done. Now he's taking on the Lizard because the Lizard is the villain of the movie.
Is that Michael Morbius in there?
Morbius is in here as well.
I love me some Michael Morbius.
So we got lizards and vampires and spiders.
Oh my.
Dan Slott continues to write it. Giuseppe Camuncoli drawing it. Next up, Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli doing Spider-Man. This is the crossover between the Ultimate Spider-Man and the 616 Spider-Man. We got Peter Parker and Miles Morales. The first issue was pretty good. It was a lot of setup. Spider-Man has been, I believe Peter Parker's been sucked into the Ultimate Universe. Mysterio is a part of all of this.
As he should be.
It was just intro. It ended with the meeting of the two of them. Now they're probably going to talk.
I heard it was pretty good, though.
Make a lot of smart-ass comments. Oh, it looks like we got 2 Mysterios. Maybe the 2 universes or the 2 Mysterios are kind of teaming up. We got Peter Parker talking to Nick Fury. So this has been some interesting stuff. I mean, years ago, Marvel said they would never do the crossover between the two. Now that Spider-Man is a different character, it's, I think, just a whole new ball game.
Yeah, no reason to do it when they're both Peter Parker.
Yeah. Now, it would just be old Peter Parker against, young Peter Parker. That'd be kind of boring.
Right. Someone was telling me there was one of the people on the streets made the comment, "Hey man, you're wearing Peter Parker's costume. Yeah. That shows respect."
Yeah.
That's kind of. And he's like, "What? Wait, what?"
In the Ultimate Universe, since he's dead, they know who he is. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I actually like this crossover pretty much. And, there's another Spider-Man book this week. There's a reprint of Amazing Fantasy 15. Recolored with modern coloring.
Really nice.
It's also got Amazing Spider-Man #1, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Reprinted in the two, because the Amazing Fantasy story is very short. So, yeah, if you've not checked that, that's where he meets the Fantastic Four.
Yep.
So if you've never actually read the original story, you should check it out. It's really good stuff. Been recolored. It looks great. And ties
really
in to the... Yeah, they did that with Thor last year when the Thor movie came out. And, normally I'm not a big fan of recoloring old stuff with modern colors, but they've done a really good job with it on these. I don't know if they're going to wind up putting those into the Masterworks, because those, I think, still have the original colors. But this one actually looks really nice. Next up, the AVX book for this week for me, Wolverine and the X-Men. Again, this is one of the best X-Men books out there. We've got Jason Aaron and Chris Bachalo, and it looks like we've got Avengers and X-Men. So what more do you need? Next up, Reset from Peter Bagg. This has been a strange book. I don't really know how to describe it. It's a kind of a virtual reality. It was sort of a trip through his past, but now it looks like it's actually kind of veering off into fantasy directions. He's able to go back and try to change his life, but in a virtual reality setting. And there's a corporation with an unknown agenda behind all of this. I don't really know. It's actually kind of strange and confusing, but it's a lot of fun, and it's actually quite funny.
Is awesome.
Yeah, great stuff. Next up, we've got The Mighty Thor with a great cover by Walt Simonson. And basically, we've got Thor fighting demons, and
that demon looks like Glenn Danzig.
It's a death metal demon
with horns.
Thor fight because it's nightmares. Thor's fighting various nightmares, and the character in the story, that's his sort of creature or something. Meanwhile, Don Blake.
Like Glenn Danzig, he's that tall. How intimidating is that going to be?
Well, this is a giant Danzig.
Oh, all right.
But it looks apparently like he's going to get his ass kicked by Thor, as he should. So it's we've got a story of Thor being trapped in some sort of weird nightmare world, and a bodiless Don Blake teaming up with the Enchantress, who's kind of screwing him over somehow. Strange stuff, but still pretty good stuff from Matt Fraction. Now I've got IDW Star Trek Next Generation Doctor Who crossover. First issue was a lot of fun. It was a lot of setup. I didn't really get to see a lot of the Next Generation cast, but basically the Borg and the Cybermen, who are kind of the same sort of creatures, have teamed up, and they're out assimilating and doing whatever Cybermen do, and the crew of the Enterprise and the crew of the TARDIS are going to have to try and stop them. It's got great painted artwork by J.K. Woodward. I believe in the next issue, the Tom Baker Doctor Who and Captain Kirk show up, so it's going to be even more fun. But this has been a good series. I haven't been getting the Star Trek stuff normally, or the Doctor Who stuff, even though I like both of them. But this is a crossover you're not going to ever see in real life.
Right.
So this is your only shot at seeing something like this. And IDW's done a good job with other things like this in the past. Infestation thing that they did. So this is a lot of fun. If you like Star Trek or Doctor Who or both, give it a shot. So what do you got?
My top pick of the week here should be no surprise. I believe this has been my top pick probably in 3 weeks when the previous issues came out. I'm looking at Manhattan Projects number 4. This one's titled The Rose Bridge. This has been a really strange book. It's kind of that, I don't want to say revisionist history, but it's a look at alternate history. And I like when Hickman does that. He was doing that with S.H.I.E.L.D. a bit over at Marvel. And this is basically taking historical figures like Albert Einstein and who were some of the other figures they had in there?
Oppenheimer's in there.
Right, the one dude from the
Werner von Braun is in there.
And they've been brought together as a part of the Manhattan Projects, because it's not just the Manhattan Project. They're not just working on the bomb.
Well, the Atom Bomb is a weird cover for weird extra-dimensional teleporters and
Yes.
all kinds of stuff like that.
And so far, all we've really seen with Einstein is him staring at essentially like a monolith. Like okay, what's Einstein up to? And there's one fictional character that he's weaved into the story that's has some importance. But I think this book has just been great. I've really, really been enjoying it. Fun stuff. If you're not reading it, you should go back and try and pick them up. This is, I think, where Hickman excels, when his imagination just runs wild and just tells you a really crazy, wild, epic story.
Indeed.
So that's my top pick of the week.
My top pick is the opposite of a clever, brainy book. It's Hit Girl. So it's about a young child that kills people with pleasure and ease.
And curses.
I believe that this storyline takes place between the first and the second Kick-Ass series. I think this is after she hangs up her cape. But I believe even though she has retired, once a little girl knows how to kill, she doesn't want to stop. So yeah, Mark Miller at his kind of twisted and barely moral best, with some great artwork by John Romita Jr. The Hit Girl and Kick-Ass, they're kind of weird guilty pleasures. The stuff that he's doing elsewhere, the creator-owned stuff he's doing elsewhere, is actually really smart and really clever and actually kind of tight. But this stuff, there's just a whole lot of wrong in these books, but I think that's why I like it. So if you were a big fan of the other books, this is basically the same thing, even a little bit more. And, Hit Girl was kind of the breakout character, so it's no surprise that she's getting her own book, and she's on the front cover covered in blood. So Hit Girl #1 is my kind of shameful pick.
Fair enough, and I'm sure it'll be popular. And we still got the Living Dead Dolls Hit Girl from last week. So if you're all fired up about Hit Girl this week, we got that. We got the blank white covers, and we got the Living Dead Dolls. Now, over on our YouTube channel, I'm segueing here real quick. We had, a gentleman by the name of Two Brothers Productions was asking us to give him some recommendations. What I would say is follow any of these picks.
Yeah.
These essentially would be our recommendations.
Yeah.
Any of the things here, we're loving. Most of the books that we're reading, we're both reading a lot of the same stuff, and we end up splitting our pile right down the middle. You should be reading, our top pick for one of each week. I think a lot of times would be a great recommendation because that's something we're both really into.
Especially when it's a #1.
Yes.
Or it's a good place to jump on. Like some of these, like Hit Girl's a great place to jump on, I think, to summarize things. Manhattan Project, you may want to go back and pick up the first few issues. Same thing with stuff like Fatale. Don't pick up Hellblazer from where I'm starting, but pick it up from the beginning.
I think he was looking for some superhero stuff too. I mean, again, any of the picks we've kind of named, some of these things are starting with new, fresh arcs. Yeah. And obviously anything in the new 52 should be pretty easy to pick up because those trades are starting to come out.
Yep.
And we're already into our second. Definitely pick up Batman if you haven't been reading that. I mean, you'll be mad when you read issue 10. But or maybe that was just me.
We'll wait to see what happens in issue 11.
I'm still bitter and hung up on that. But with that, I believe that is your Week in Geek.